What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Rams Brothers. I'm your host, Dean, and I'm joined, as always, by my brother and the other fantastic host of this show, Nick. And Nick, 2 games into the preseason, more joint practices coming up this week. But first and most importantly, my brother, how are you?
I'm good. Preseason game was bizarre, as they always are. Kind of tucked away right now. Got a flash flood warning on my phone. Hopefully Hillary doesn't take too many people down this weekend.
Yeah, prayers to everybody in Los Angeles, obviously. Prayers to everybody in Hawaii, everybody that's dealing with any type of storm, any kind of ramifications from the storm. Hopefully you guys are bunkered up and comfortable, and hopefully there's not too much damage to your homes and everything like that. So hopefully everybody's safe over the next week or so, because it seems like it's going to be tough in Los Angeles. Nick, I just looked up the weather report. So it might be tough for practice, might be tough for Monday, Tuesday. It looks like it's going to be really tricky in terms of the weather. So all still TBD this week.
Yeah. How you doing, Dean? You just had a draft this weekend, fantasy draft?
Nick, I'm good. I had a fantasy draft the same night of the Rams' second preseason game. I came away with, I think, 3 or 4 rookies. I wanted to go young with my squad, the same way that the Rams are doing with their roster right now. So, I feel like I'm in a good headspace. I think I'm seeing a lot of conversations about the Rams being one of the worst rosters and not being deep in certain position groups. And I think I'm just overly optimistic, maybe not just because I'm a fan, just because I see opening lines like Rams and Seahawks at 6.5. And I want to start putting on some money and some bets. And I think my optimism is going to then trickle into the season, because within this preseason game, Nick, I feel like I identified, we both really did. We identified 5 or 6 players that we feel like can be top contributors for this season specifically. And it stems all the way back a couple of years ago with a couple of draft picks, 3-4 years ago, right? Guys that immediately need to step up now, and a couple of guys that have been big contributors over the past couple of weeks. So yeah, I've been good, Nick. I'm ready for the season to start. I looked at the calendar. I'm like, how am I going to get through these next 2 weeks?
We'll be fine.
You know how I work. I'm ready to go at all times. A million miles.
I mean, I have my Jaguars and Ramsey mug already switched into my rotations of mugs, so I can start getting back in football mode. Big fans of the pod will remember last year when I was all over the Jags in the playoffs, and then we got to witness that great, one of the most fun comebacks ever against the Chargers, which is great because F the Chargers. Before we get started, breaking everything down, I just want to say there has been, which is odd, this summer, at least in the South Bay where I live, just a lot of Rams love. I'm seeing a lot of jerseys, seeing a lot of hats, it flows right in. It looks like a Dodgers hat. I think a lot of people are just it's becoming vernacular, just to have Rams love, and less and less Chargers, which is crazy right now because the Chargers look like the better team, if we're being honest, if you were to compare them 1 and 2. Yeah. But it's just nice to see that winning that Super Bowl, it was going to come down to a race to who's going to win the first Super Bowl, Chargers or Rams, I think. Yeah. And the Rams got in there, and they got it done in the new stadium. And now they are the LA football team. It is clear and obvious. So,
and it would have felt a little detrimental if San Francisco won the Super Bowl in your own stadium, or if the Raiders had won a more recent Super Bowl, or another team that has a lot of transplants like the Dallas Cowboys. It's all been 25, 30 years since either of those teams have won the Super Bowl. So it did work in our benefit. And then you see the Raiders and the Chargers and teams of, fans of other teams kind of come into the building. But for the most part, it seems like it is holistically Rams, and the Who's House chant is strong, and all those kind of facets seem to be in place, which is another reason why I'm optimistic about this season, is because it seems like a lot of the hard work has been done. The relocation, all the jersey drama, all that kind of stuff is behind us. And it's very much just focused on finding, 4 or 5 foundational pieces throughout the preseason that can contribute to the overall roster on both sides of the ball. And Nick, starting with the offense. We could talk about Stetson Bennett probably for the next 25 minutes. He is a great, great talking point. The national media likes to talk about him and speculate and compare him to some of the other quarterbacks that are rookies that are getting some snaps in the preseason. But it seems like he's developing a nice little connection with Tyler Johnson. And I think that's going to earn somebody like Tyler Johnson a job at the bottom of the Rams' receiver depth chart. But, you really we talked about this in the previous episode. You really wanted a second chance to be able to evaluate Stetson Bennett when he had a more capable tight end active. And Davis Allen 8 catches for 53 yards. To me, was the star of the show offensively. I mean, when you look at somebody being able to replace Higbee 1-to-1, I want to see more inline snaps and capabilities as a blocker. But for the most part, I was like, Davis Allen can catch the ball. Catch radius is solid. It looks like he's going to be a solid player.
Yeah, everything with Stenson right now, they say like the whole thing with him was he's kind of a vet already. He's been in the college system so long. He's already 28. Like he should be like ready to go. But just like any other rookie, it seems like, he needs the quick plays so he can get in a rhythm.
Yeah.
He leans on the tight ends. He can get flustered like very easily if pressure's coming in really tight. And he's pick happy right now. It's preseason, so the defense is dropping a lot of picks, but he should have realistically 4 interceptions right now. On the preseason record. He has 3 dropped interceptions, 1 recorded. But it is fun. That little play they did where he got to sneak in for a touchdown and stuff like that. It feels like fun and exciting and young, and there is definitely room for improvement. But yeah, you're right. Him and Skoranek, I thought had a really nice connection there on that sidearm little Stafford type throw. So yeah,
you see good things out of structure. Yeah, you see good things from an arm angle perspective. It was that third series. Do you remember that the third series in the game? I thought was really impressive because Stetson Bennett went 5 of 6. And then you saw momentum. He was building momentum, coming in and out of the huddle with guys like Ben Skoranek, guys like Tyler Johnson, guys like Davis Allen. And then Andrew Whitworth, Nick, and I think you're going to love this, made some solid comparisons when it comes to Jared Goff and Stetson Bennett in terms of how he likes to play fast. And this is what you just alluded to, and getting in and out of the huddle and just kind of being better once the ball is snapped, which is the same kind of player that Jared Goff was. Maybe analytically behind the scenes, he wasn't best at recalling plays and having a picture-for-picture memory the way that Sean McVay does. And not many people do, right? So that's kind of the compliment that you award a player that, has a really good feel for the game. And I think that's what you get in a veteran presence in Stetson Bennett. And I think that, there's plays that you really kind of hate. There was a play right before the half on a 3rd and 7 where the Rams, I think, had to avoid some pressure. They were in the red zone. This was the one where they had the possession right before the half. And the play kind of broke down and he had to operate out of structure and made a throw across his body that I was really uncomfortable with. So that body of work is still there in terms of comparables with Jared Goff. But when it comes to just playing football, 2 guys that are good at doing it, maybe not the best in their class. But so far, 60% completion percentage, 2 touchdowns and interception. You noted a couple of them have been dropped, but a passer rating of 75.7 through roughly 5 quarters so far. So you look at the sample size and see where he could be. It's not terrible. But it's not. I don't think it's to the level of an Aiden O'Connell, right? Some other guys that we were recruiting, some of the other rookies that went a little bit later in the draft. So I think the bag is still out. I want to see more with Davis Allen. Let's say that.
Yeah, I don't think the Goff comparison is warranted outside of his rookie season, really, and the season following up, because I think he just has since matured and no longer.
Completely. It was very much a comparison about the early phases of their games.
Right. But for that, yeah, I agree. The only other thing I just want to add, I feel like there is just shakes that kind of have to just be rattled off just because it is preseason. We don't need to be taking anything 100% serious. I feel like if we get to the point where Stafford goes down this year, knock on wood, because obviously we don't want to see that happen. I think our team is going to operate very similar to how it did last year with Baker Mayfield, where it's you can definitely be in more of these games than you were with a John Wolford. So for that, with Stenson, that's kind of all you can ask for right now, and I think that's what he's providing.
That's what we talked about all preseason, and that's how we justify the draft pick.
Yeah.
If it was 85% of what Baker Mayfield was in the final 4 or 5 weeks of the season, then it's a successful draft pick because you needed a decent backup to be able to fill that void. And you know what? that play where I was talking about, we just went back to the red zone series, when that third series where Logan Bruss was just getting bullied off the line of scrimmage and dislocated a few fingers during the week and joint practices and twisted up his ankle on that long arm pass rush that he just got bullied on. Like, that to me is a little bit scary, but I feel like when it comes to the offense holistically, when you get to the red zone and when you get to some of those more difficult downs and distances, right, the 3rd and 7s in the red zone, when you have skill players and you have legitimate weapons, those kind of situations fix themselves because skill players make plays, right? So, I mean, it's kind of a difficult evaluation. I'd love to see Stetson with the first team offense, but I would also not love to see that, right, for the reasons that you listed. Because you don't want to see Matthew Stafford out of the game. And I think a lot of that's going to come down to the offensive line, right? Like, it's Alaric Jackson is now your stabilizing left tackle. And you know what? It's a little bit different from years prior now, where you're going to see some starters like you saw in this past game. You saw Alaric Jackson's your starting left tackle. He started, I think, played the whole first half of this game. And then Steve Avila. I mean, this is the kind of kid like Davis Allen that could be a blessing and a foundational player for this team. And he's playing his ass off. And then you got 2 competitions between center and right guard. I mean, I don't know what the hell's going on with Joe Noteboom, but it doesn't sound like it's good.
No,
at all.
He's like missing time, and they're not really talking about like how he's missing time. Maybe it's something that has nothing to do with like injuries. So
yeah. And that could be another thing, but you have to be able to stabilize that unit as much as possible. You got to be able to be as big and as efficient with as much continuity as you possibly can be with that offensive line, which is all Andrew Whitworth wants to talk about during the broadcast. It's like, how do we better protect Matthew Stafford? And it's with size and stability, right? Guys that are durable, that can actually, stay within the game and aren't going to make the kind of play that Logan Bruss just made. So I'm looking for that. And
I saw a tweet that said Bruss is sus, and I was like, perfect. You get it. You live through Among Us.
That is good Twittering or good Xing.
I wish I could remember who it was. I'm sorry, but
yeah.
You made me smile.
And you know what's really going to help out Matthew Stafford, and what's really going to help out potentially the offensive line is a solid run game. Right, because somebody like Ronnie Rivers, behind the top preseason offensive line unit was pretty impressive. Like, I'm starting to think that Royce Freeman doesn't even make the team, because you go Cam the Ram, Kyron Williams, and then you go Ronnie Rivers, and then potentially Zach Evans. Ronnie Rivers and Zach Evans both potentially would play special teams for you, so it doesn't really make any sense why you would keep that 5th running back. But it's given these guys, Sony Michel retiring and Royce Freeman coming into the fold, has given you guys, everybody, fans, coaches, a longer look at some of these younger backs.
I was somewhat crossing my fingers in the sense that we might get Zeke if we could get him like on cheap or something. It's like maybe just like come to LA, have like a fun year. But
if New England likes to bring in veteran backs, I think it's nothing to poo-poo. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think maybe there were even conversations about it, but it's just like, just all of those guys. Like, it's Cam Akers, and then it's really like a crapshoot. And the fact that they lost Sony and they brought in that guy from Houston, so I really, really, really don't think the run game, if Cam Akers is giving you nothing, I don't think you're really going to get much, truly. So
right.
And we're going to get into the defense and and how they played in this game, which is not great. It feels like the Rams, if they're going to be a team that's going to win half their games or more, they're going to have to score a lot, because I don't know who this defense is going to be able to stop. And the way to do that is to trick people up with that and starting with like a good running game, and then being able to, because they're scared of the run, then you can throw it downfield and whatnot. So
right,
yeah,
it's going to be tricky. I think that it could be a little scary. I think the defense, and I think a lot of it is schematics, right? Because I think that's where a lot of people are concerned, is the scheme that the Rams' defense runs. It allows for yards to be gained. It's the bend don't break. It's the same methodology that we've all seen, but I think they're adding layers to it, and they're adding sub packages. And guys like Quentin Lake as a dime linebacker is somebody that I think they just did a really good job scouting. Like, I think it's a hybrid player. It's a versatile kid from UCLA. It's a guy that was essentially in your backyard. You didn't overthink think the pick, and you got him on day 3, and he's a guy that's contributing. He made a play, a highlight that I couldn't find, but he was a dime backer on the opposite side of the field, snuffed out the run, and broke it down within 2 yards. It was a really, really impressive run stop. And for a guy that, doesn't have a ton of experience in the league so far, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And then a guy like Trey Tomlinson, you go to the defense. Trey Tomlinson is somebody that is really impressive so far. I think he had a play coming down the sideline. I actually have the highlight for us right here, Nick. Hold on, let me show
First quarter, sinks to the logo, lofts the ball down the left sideline, over the top and broken up by Tomlinson.
I mean, stride for stride, hip to hip, he's on top of him. He's a guy that was a little bit undersized, but when you can have these technical aspects of your game locked in, and you're that kind of player that is just a gamer, wants to stick his nose in the ball, those are the kind of results. And I think that he's going to be a player that can be a starter. So there's your third guy that we found so far.
Yeah, a lot of what Raheem does and schemes up, it's you can beat us on 3-yard gains. Great. Take a 3-yard gain, take a 3-yard gain, take a 3-yard gain. That's fine. We're not allowing anything explosive.
Yeah, of course.
And that's when, you had Jalen Ramsey being able to stop anything over the top. But now, I mean, Stenson getting completely outdueled by the Raiders quarterback, who's making these what was it, upwards of 5 completions of over 25 yards? Or something?
Yeah. Brian Hoyer had a couple of deep passes that were
really deep,
25
really
plus.
nice passes.
Yeah, no, he's been a decent back. There's a reason he's been in the league for so long.
He has been.
And there's a reason why they have him and they drafted Aiden O'Connell, because Jimmy Garoppolo's arm, I think, is 75% of Brian Hoyer's on a good day. So
yeah, it's also sitting back there with so much time, which hopefully when Aaron Donald, that's funny, your glass completely was gone by the green screen, so it looked like you were drinking nothing. But hopefully Aaron Donald can come in there, and I'm sure he will, and disrupt a little bit. But I mean, it's going to have to be a big disruptance, because it looked like he had so much time and he's just dropping darts all day. And it's I think the Rams are going to have to win in these games where week 1, my favorite bet on the board might be over in the Seattle. In the Seattle Rams game, because I don't think we're going to win, but I think there's a shot that we put up just a bunch of points. I mean, who knows? Yeah, I mean,
for as many skill players as they have, I mean, you're going to get Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, and you're going to get DK Metcalf, right? And you're going to get a dosage of all 3 running backs. And I think they have a pretty decent
all young and hungry.
All young and hungry. They're going to be tough. Seattle's going to be really tough. So in that regard, right, we can look at some of the young defensive backs, and this is why you have to bring in some of these guys. Akella Witherspoon was a great free agent signing, but between Darion Kendrick and Jacoby Durant and Trey Tomlinson and a couple of these undrafted guys, like Cameron McCutcheon made a few nice plays on the ball. There's Tanner Ingle, there's Jordan Jones, who got a little toyed with in this past game. But you got to be able to match up 1-for-1 with these guys. I think if Robert Rochelle, Nick, was 70% of what Jalen Ramsey was, we'd be talking about one of the best young defensive back groups in the league. But then you transition over to the defensive line, and you look at guys like Kobe Turner, who's not getting off the ball that quickly. And you're relying on guys like Van Valkenburg around the edge and Bobby Brown, Nick. All I'm doing when I watch Bobby Brown is I'm just hopeful he could be a 1-to-1 replacement for A'Shawn Robinson. He doesn't seem like he has that same motor. He flashes. He has moments where he looks like A'Shawn Robinson. He's roughly the same size as A'Shawn Robinson, but he's not the same kind of player. And it's the difference when you find somebody that is looking for a second contract, who's a top tier pick in the draft, versus somebody who's a 5th, 6th round guy. Yeah. But I still have confidence that they could do a little bit of that. I just don't think that they're that tough up front. It was funny in the broadcast. McVay was just preaching more violent hands at the attack. You could see him. It's just we need the hands at the attack. Which, maybe, you have to be able to do that.
Maybe Jonah Williams, Marquise Copeland, Ernest Brown can fill the Greg Gaines size hole in our heart this year. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, possibly. Greg Gaines, the hole that he left in my heart is pretty large. And you just need a really good balance of somebody who could play nose tackle and somebody who could play 3 tech like Aaron Donald opposite of him, and just guys that have the versatility and ability to be rotational pieces. Like, when guys, when they come in, when Bobby Brown comes in or Ernest Brown comes in or Copeland, they know their exact assignment, and playing with smarts is going to allow this team to pay dividends like later on in the season. If you're smart, you're not being penalized. You're stacking and shedding off of blocks in the second level, and you're getting off the line of scrimmage the way that you should as a defensive line, and you're rushing the passer. Good things are going to happen. You're just not seeing a ton of it. And you know what, Nick? Special teams doesn't do us any favors.
No.
How many field position? How pissed off would you be if you're a defense and you're like, all right, the offense stalled. We got our punters punting the ball 65 yards. Shout out Ethan Evans for hitting.
Yeah, that was the one thing I wanted to bring up that I loved about special teams. Like bombs back there, bombs, and then 20 yards after the.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. How pissed are you as a defense where you're like, oh, we got him all the way pinned back. Oh shit, he slipped all the way to the 45, and now we have a shorter field to defend, and it's more likely that we give up more points. So the offense is pissed because they couldn't keep the drive going. The defense is pissed because they have a shorter field to defend. All the fans are pissed because nobody likes to see people missing tackles. But then, Nick, that's why I talked about Quentin Lake. And that's why I want people that are going to be able to follow that formula and follow that kind of energy. Big balls, get in there, make a tackle. That's what you have to do on special teams. We talked about this week over week. And Quentin Lake in the return game has been doing some really good things. So I just hope that is kind of copy pasted across guys like Robert Rochelle, who seem to just run down the field and wait. Can't say anything.
It's just a lot of unproven, young, and early football mindsets where I think a lot of the thought process is either just kill, or just get down there as fast as you can, everything from the kicking team seems fine, which is probably most important, I would argue.
Yeah, I mean, the kid missed one field goal.
Right.
We need to see more.
Yeah.
And you have to
I
really
actually totally forgot he missed that field goal.
He hasn't missed an extra point. You have to miss bad, and you have to miss. You have to miss bad, and you have to miss consistently to find yourself out.
Well, that's 2 misses now, right? Out of 2 games.
Yeah. Did he miss one in this past game?
He
only missed
no.
one.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I was talking about. Because I didn't remember him missing one this past game, and he didn't. So I was right.
Yeah.
But yeah,
good. You are
special teams. It's special teams. It's like stealing a base in baseball. It's you can only mess up, really, kind of, at least on defense and with kicking and punting. So you have to do the thing that you're supposed to do. You play for a very small portion of the time. Just get in there and just steal the base.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the way that I feel too. It's like a 37-yard punt return is equivalent to giving up stolen bases back to back, right? You're not even looking at the pickoff. You're not even looking at the base runner as the pitcher. You're just letting the guy. That's maybe not a great one-to-one sports metaphor comparison.
I don't think it is either. I'm just trapped on crappy.
You've been watching Shohei Ohtani all these days. Yeah, we're just we're trying to find our way through the preseason. It has been a lot of fun so far. I'm so glad that you guys have been a part of it. Hopefully the background situation is a little bit better in this episode.
So happy you brought that up, Dean, because I was going to bring it up. If you follow Rams Brothers, you may not know this, but there's a whole saga about we're trying to make it a more visually appealing show on YouTube. So like and subscribe on YouTube. But every comment, it seems to be about our freaking background. And it's change this, change that, whatever. I got a Steven Jackson jersey back up there. I'm sure some idiot's going to be not idiot, because everybody who watches the show is great. But some guy's going to be like, hey, get a LA Rams player. Don't make it a St. Louis, and you can't win. But it's fun to mess around and just enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, it's fun. We have fun with all you guys. It's always a blast. We just want to have more conversations about the players and the coaches and stuff that's related to the actual team and not our personal backgrounds. But regardless, make sure that you guys like and subscribe. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks for listening, guys. You all rock if you like and subscribe. Everybody rocks. Take care. Thank you.
Peace. Go Rams.